I finished building a world in The Sims 3. Hello everyone, my name is Polly, and in today's video I will be talking about my experience building a world in The Sims 3, and I will also show you the finished result. It took me a few tries before I started actually building the world, since I was trying to figure out how the program worked. I think the Create a World tool has a lot of potential and it's a lot of fun using it, but it needed to be more user-friendly in my opinion. I don't know if it was supposed to be the last version of the program or if EA had the intent to make some aspects better, but I think it deserves to be reviewed. It's a little hard getting used to the program mechanics, and sometimes I would spend a lot of time fixing stuff that could be fixed in a more intuitive way. I work with a lot of Adobe programs where you also work with layers, for example, and it took me so much time to understand how they worked in the Create a World when it didn't need to be that confusing. I also only realized how to properly select the correct layer by the time I was almost finished using the program, which means that I spent a lot of time putting hundreds of objects one by one in the correct layer after finishing what I was doing. Another problem that I encountered was when putting lots in the world. It would be so much easier if I could program the lot by its size instead of counting squares in the grid. There is an option to place lots that way, but at least in my game it is bugged and I can't use it. Building roads was a little tricky at first. It took me some time to realize that I had to use the handles to make curvy roads, and even when I realized that, it was still a little difficult connecting roads or expanding them. I also think that they could have added crosswalks without having to place an intersection. If you go back to the first part, I think you can see that I was a little confused about it. In terms of terrain tools, they were actually really cool, and although it takes a few tries to get the gist of the terrain painting tool, you get a good selection of paints and it's pretty easy to use, especially if you're used to that tool in-game either on The Sims 3 or The Sims 4. This tool couldn't belong to The Sims 3 if you didn't have the option to make it totally customizable. I didn't customize anything because I don't really know how one does that, but there must be tutorials online if you're interested in that. Sometimes it could be annoying trying to understand the layers, making the lots by counting each square in the grid, but the learning curve in my opinion isn't that big, and I'm confident that if I were to make another world, it would be way easier this time. Sketching the world beforehand was definitely the right decision because it can be hard envisioning the space when you have a blank canvas in front of you. It had been years since I played The Sims 3 by the time I was ready to start building the lots, and I wasn't even sure how it would be with the community lots, but it was way easier than Create a World. One thing that I have to point out is the lack of options when choosing the lot type. There are some community lots that don't appear in the options and are substituted by visitors allowed or not allowed. I haven't tested to see if it makes a difference in game, but I hope it doesn't. I also wish that would be more stores and restaurants options, maybe not a whole new building, but different colors or a way to customize it. I don't know if there are more options if there are DLCs installed, but I only have the base game, so I had to repeat the same buildings because I had planned to have multiple stores. Build mode is a bit different than the Sims 3 build mode, obviously. In some cases it's better, in others it's worse. To be completely honest, I'm a bit surprised that I was able to build in the Sims 3 because I was never able to build anything in the Sims 3 before. Maybe it's because I can build in the Sims 4 and I realized it's not that different. I honestly don't know, but it didn't go as bad as I thought it would. The community lots were super easy for me to build or to decorate the exterior because most of them are already built. I just had to place them, but I really enjoy decorating the exteriors. The lot that I dislike the most is the art gallery, and I think that is kinda obvious given the quality of that build. I was really disappointed at the lack of art that the base game offers, so it was really hard for me to build two exhibitions. Another thing that I would have also liked is being able to make a better sports field at the school. When I started building the houses, it was a little hard for me to figure out how big was the house turning. I don't have this difficulty in The Sims 4, at least most times, but for some reason it's hard for me to figure it out in The Sims 3. The first house was the only house that I decorated, and here's why. The base game doesn't have a lot of furniture or decor, that's why I had gigabytes of custom content back in the day, and the lack of stuff made it hard for me to decorate the different rooms in that house, let alone 12 houses. I decided to duplicate the houses next to the beach and next to the school because I often see neighborhoods with houses that look the same, at least here where I live. So I didn't want the houses to look totally different, and also saved me some time to do it like that. It was challenging at times building in The Sims 3 because it wasn't as polished as The Sims 4, and some features may even look weird, like the columns in the porches and decks, because the level above looks like it's floating and not actually sitting on the columns. Having to put columns so that you can build on the top level without walls on the bottom level is also kinda annoying sometimes. I found myself putting and deleting columns constantly because of the levels thing, or because they couldn't intersect with fences when building fences, even with move objects activated. Split levels are also hard to do. I saw some tutorials on how to do it, but after hours of trying, I gave up because it just wasn't happening. I don't know if it was because I was using the Create a World version of The Sims 3 or if the sheet doesn't work anymore, but in the end I was kinda able to do what I wanted, even though it didn't look the best. It also took me a lot of time to get out to make curved pools. I wasn't able to do the pool on the last house next to the beach as I wanted originally, but I don't mind how it ended up looking. I tried my best to do different front and back yards for each house, even the ones that looked the same, but sometimes I felt like it was repetitive, and for that I'm sorry. Okay, now that you know a little bit better about my experience building this world, I'm going to show you the finished result. I really like how it turned out. I even dare to say that it exceeded my expectations. What do you think about these results? Have you ever tried Create a World before? Were the things that I mentioned hard, or am I just not a great builder? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm currently building a new island on Animal Crossing New Horizons, so subscribe so you don't miss those videos. I think I did a better job when building my first Animal Crossing New Horizons island, so feel free to check that video where I tour my island. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!